Hi. Sorry. This time I'm going to be talking about all the different types of metamorphosis that Pythagoras talks about. And there were like a lot I could see, but I could only fit about 11 on my page. So I'm only going to go over 11 because I cannot remember all of these from my brain. So I had to write them down. So, the first one. He explains about how our bodies are never the same from one moment to the next because our cells are constantly decaying and like regenerating, and that's a sign of like metamorphosis because your body is always changing. And that was in book 15 on lines 165 to 198. The second one is when a baby becomes a child, and then it becomes an adult, and then it becomes an old person. And that's, ouch, hit my leg. That's because life stages are kind of being seen as a lifelong metamorphosis because you're never the same at when you're 5 and when you're 15 and 25 and 35, 45, 40, 55, all that. And that was on lines 199 to 213. And number 3 was what we eat becomes a part of our bodies, and depending on what we eat is what shapes our bodies. And that's another reason why he supported vegetarianism, because animals are living beings, you're eating other living beings, then, And that was on lines 250 to 270. The fourth one is about how seasons transform Earth because spring blooms it, and he said that the summer ripens it. I don't understand what that really meant, but, maybe makes things, like, hotter and, like, to its full form because summer's the best. And then autumn decays things and winter freezes things, and that's transformation because the earth is never the same. That's 210 to 240, the lines. And then the fifth one I have is the water cycle. For when the water evaporates and becomes vapor, and then the vapor condenses, becomes clouds, and then when the clouds get so heavy and then they start raining, water's never the same, and that's what he's basically saying. And that was on pages 245 to 260. And then the sixth one is about how old seas and oceans will become land by drying up, and then over a long period of time they'll become the sea again because they're going to be like buried in the water again. And that's transforming because it's never the same twice. Well, it's the same twice, but different like makeups because of like erosion and all that. And that was on 260 to 280. And the seventh one is about how fire consumes objects and then turns them into smoke and ash. And that's basically saying fire just transforms anything that it burns into smoke and ash. That's pretty self-explanatory. That was on lines 340 to 355. And another thing that he was insisting the whole time was that nothing truly dies, it just changes form. And that was on page 150 to 165, and that's pretty also self-explanatory, but like things literally changing form throughout life. Not die. What am I saying? Nothing truly dies and just transforms into another thing. There we go. Sorry, I got my words all mixed up because I was looking at multiple things. My handwriting's horrible. The ninth one is about how wax is softened and can be molded into new forms, or how wax can be melted and poured into new forms. And that's also pretty easy to understand because wax can be changed no matter what, like wax sculptures, candles, like lamination. I don't know what else wax is used for. But yeah, that is 370 to 380 line. And the 10th one is that how metal can be melted and transformed into new objects like knives, like nails and screws and hammers and like building stuff, and like jewelry and all that. And that's transforming just because it, literally transforms. And then the last one is about how living things have kids, and then those kids have kids, and then those kids have kids, and that transforms the gene pool because you're never the same like generation as you were before because you're always going to have more DNA in you and all that. And that's honestly implied throughout the whole passage. So that's about it. Yeah, there was a lot more, but that's all I could get through. I I hope that classifies as enough.